You are seeing this because you have reached the breaking point. Your psyche has been preparing for this exact moment. This is not a coincidence. There is a pressure inside you that has become unbearable. You cannot wait any longer. You cannot continue living half a life. You cannot keep pretending that everything is fine when every cell in your body is screaming for change. This is your turn. Finally, I have discovered throughout my work that before a major psychological breakthrough, the psyche emits specific signals. The unconscious sends messages. Most people miss them. They stay stuck in the comfortable prison of their conditioning. They convince themselves they can wait one more day, one more month, one more year. But you are different. You are here because something inside you knows the truth. You are ready. Right now, in this exact moment, you are standing at the gateway between the life you have been tolerating and the life you were meant to live, between the false self you constructed to survive and the authentic self that demands to emerge. The question is not whether you are ready. The question is whether you will allow yourself to become who you actually are. Here is what terrifies most people about finally choosing themselves. It is not a fear of failure, it is the fear of success, the fear of actually becoming whole. Let me explain what I call the golden shadow. You have been hiding your greatest strengths, your deepest power, your truest self behind a mask of inadequacy. Why? Because somewhere along the way you learned that your light was dangerous, that your power threatened others, that your authenticity would cost you love. So you buried it. You made yourself smaller. You learned to wait. You convinced yourself that patience was a virtue, when really it was just fear dressed in acceptable clothing. We tell ourselves we are being realistic. We say we are being responsible. We claim we are waiting for the right moment. Why? Because owning our full power means we can no longer blame circumstances for unhappiness. We can no longer hide behind excuses. We become accountable for the life we are living. And that terrifies people more than staying trapped ever could. Here is what I have discovered. The people who say they cannot take it anymore are actually the closest to breakthrough. The psychological pressure you feel right now is not evidence of weakness, it is evidence of readiness. Your unconscious is generating the exact amount of tension needed to shatter the false identity you have been defending. You can no longer pretend this is sustainable. You can no longer convince yourself that next year will be different if you just keep doing the same things. You can no longer tolerate the gap between who you are and who you are pretending to be. That intolerance is not a problem. It is the solution trying to emerge. Before we go deeper, you need to understand why you have been waiting, why you have been stuck in this pattern of delay, of hesitation, of convincing yourself that the timing is not quite right. It is not because you lack courage. It is not because you lack ability. It is not because the universe is against you, or because you have bad luck, or because circumstances have not aligned. You have been addicted to waiting because waiting feels safer than becoming. Let me explain. Your brain interprets transformation as a threat. Your nervous system was designed to keep you alive, not to make you happy, not to help you self-actualize. It was designed to maintain homeostasis, to keep everything exactly as it has always been, because from an evolutionary perspective, survival meant consistency. So every time you get close to real change, your brain sounds the alarm. Your nervous system floods you with anxiety. Your psyche manufactures reasons to delay, not because change is actually dangerous, but because your brain cannot tell the difference between transformation and death. I have spent decades studying this pattern. I watched patients approach their greatest victories only to implode at the last moment. I saw people create elaborate self-sabotage rituals right when success was within reach. I documented the same pattern across hundreds of cases. A woman finally ready to leave an abusive relationship suddenly gets pregnant. A man on the verge of starting his business suddenly develops a mysterious illness. An artist about to show their work publicly suddenly loses all their files. A person finally ready to speak their truth suddenly loses their voice. These are not random events. These are not coincidences. This was not weakness. This was the psyche protecting itself from the terror of transformation. Because transformation means death, not physical death, psychological death, the death of the identity you constructed to survive your childhood, your trauma, your circumstances, the death of the story you have been telling yourself about who you are and what you are capable of. Right now, your psyche is preparing for that death. The pressure you feel is not telling you to wait longer. It is telling you that you have already waited too long. There are specific signs that reveal when this turn is coming, when the psyche is ready to shed its old skin and emerge transformed. The first sign is what I call liminal anxiety. This is different from ordinary anxiety. Ordinary anxiety has a specific object. You are anxious about money, about relationships, about health. Liminal anxiety is formless. It is a pervasive sense of restlessness, of urgency, of something brewing beneath the surface that you cannot quite name. Most people interpret this as generalized anxiety disorder. They try to medicate it away. They distract themselves with work, with substances, with endless scrolling. I understand this differently. Liminal anxiety is the psyche announcing that you are in the threshold space between identities. You are no longer who you were, but not yet who you are becoming. This in-between state creates psychological tension. That tension is not pathology. It is preparation. You feel it as pressure in your chest, as restlessness in your body, as the sense that you cannot possibly continue living this way, but you do not yet know what the alternative looks like. Second, loss of interest. Things that used to comfort you suddenly feel empty. People you used to tolerate suddenly feel unbearable. Activities that used to fill your time suddenly feel meaningless. Your old life stops fitting. Your old patterns stop working. Most people panic when this happens. They think something is wrong with them. They force themselves to keep showing up to relationships and situations that no longer feed them. They convince themselves they are being ungrateful or unrealistic. But this is the psyche withdrawing energy from what no longer serves growth. Your unconscious is pulling back your life force from everything that belongs to the old identity. It is making space for the new. This is not depression, this is readiness. Third, the pressure cooker feeling. You sense something inside you building, a knowing that change is coming, a feeling that you are running out of time, not because you are dying, but because your false self is dying and it knows it. Your sleep changes. You wake up at 3 in the morning with your heart racing. Your appetite changes. Food stops tasting the same. Your body is literally preparing for metamorphosis. This is your psyche generating the psychological pressure needed to break through the shell of your conditioning, like a seed that must crack open to become a plant. The cracking is not failure, the cracking is required. Most people try to suppress this feeling with distractions, addictions, and busyness. They try to release the pressure gradually to make it more comfortable. But you cannot microwave transformation. You cannot negotiate with the unconscious. The pressure will keep building until you finally surrender to the change that is trying to happen. Here is where it gets dangerous. When real transformation is close, self-sabotage kicks in hardest. I have documented this pattern across hundreds of cases. Right when someone is about to break through, right when they are finally ready to stop waiting and start living, the psyche launches a final defense. Not because it wants to hurt you, because it is terrified of losing control. Think about the last time you were close to making a real change. What happened? Did you suddenly create a crisis in another area of your life that demanded all your attention? Did you pick a fight with someone important to you? Did you get sick at exactly the wrong moment? Did you convince yourself that actually this was not the right time after all, that you needed to wait for just one more thing to fall into place? Did you sabotage a relationship right when it was getting serious? Did you quit a project right before it was finished? Did you say something destructive right when things were going well? Did you ghost someone who was actually good for you? Did you relapse into old patterns you thought you had moved beyond? These are not random events. These are your psyche trying to protect you from the terror of success. Because success means you have to maintain that new level. You have to live up to your potential. You have to take responsibility for your gifts. You can no longer hide behind the story that circumstances prevented you from becoming who you could be. Success means the world sees you. Success means you cannot stay invisible. Success means you have to occupy the full magnitude of your power, your talent, your light. And if you learned early that being seen was dangerous, that being powerful led to punishment, that shining bright meant others would try to dim you, then success feels like walking directly into the fire. That feels more dangerous than staying stuck. At least stuckness is familiar. At least waiting is a pattern you know how to perform. At least helplessness removes the burden of responsibility. But you cannot wait anymore. Your unconscious will not let you. The pressure has become unbearable because it is supposed to be unbearable. You are supposed to break. But here is the truth. Breaking free from this pattern is not about luck. It is not about timing. It is not about the right circumstances finally appearing or the universe suddenly deciding to give you permission. Transformation is about allowing. It is about stopping your resistance to your own evolution. I discovered that people do not fail because they lack ability. They fail because they cannot tolerate the psychological reality of success. They cannot handle the identity shift required to become the version of themselves that has what they want. They cannot handle being seen. They cannot handle having power. They cannot handle the responsibility of living at their full capacity. They cannot handle the loneliness that comes with individuating beyond their family system, their culture, their tribe. They cannot handle losing the identity of the one who struggles, who tries but never quite makes it, who has potential but never actualizes it. So they sabotage themselves. They create the familiar pattern of delay. They manufacture reasons to wait. They convince themselves they are being realistic when really they are just being afraid. This identity feels safe, it feels known, it feels like home, even when that home is burning down around them, even when staying costs them their health, their relationships, their sanity, their life force. Right now you are being asked to burn that home down yourself, to stop waiting for circumstances to force your hand, to choose the transformation instead of having it thrust upon you through crisis. And that is terrifying. Because the person who stops waiting and starts living has no script. The person who claims their power has no roadmap. The person who breaks free from their conditioning has to learn how to be themselves without the familiar patterns that used to define them. You do not know how to be that person yet. You have only ever practiced being the one who waits, the one who hesitates. the one who needs permission, the one who is not quite ready. But here is the deeper truth. You are not becoming someone new. You are becoming who you actually are beneath all the conditioning and trauma and fear, beneath all the stories you told yourself to make your limitations tolerable. The person you are becoming is not a stranger. It is the self you abandoned when you learned that being yourself was not acceptable, when you learned that your truth was too much, when you learned that your power threatened others. You are not creating a new identity. You are remembering your original one. When you start to evolve beyond your family system or your culture, the collective unconscious pushes back. This is not metaphorical. This is a real psychological force. The people in your life have an unconscious investment in you staying exactly as you have always been. Your stuckness reassures them that they do not have to change either. Your waiting gives them permission to keep waiting. Your fear validates their fear. When you stop waiting, when you finally choose yourself, you hold up a mirror. Your freedom becomes a mirror that reflects their cage. And most people would rather try to pull you back into the cage than examine why they are still in it. This is why transformation feels lonely at first. This is why the collective unconscious pressure intensifies right when you are about to break through. People who are comfortable with the waiting version of you become uncomfortable with the actualized version.
They liked you better when you needed them, when you were struggling, when you were confused.
Your clarity threatens the stories they tell themselves about why they cannot change. When you individuate, you will lose people. You must lose people. Not because you are abandoning them, but because you are stepping into a frequency they are not willing to match. You are vibrating at a level that makes their compromise unbearable to witness. And that is not tragedy, that is liberation. You do not need to become someone different to please people who are never pleased with you in the first place. You do not need to keep yourself small to make others comfortable. You do not need to wait for permission from people who benefit from you staying stuck. You need to stop pretending to be someone you are not. You need to stop performing the role of the one who cannot. You need to stop defending your limitations as if they were virtues. Your freedom does not require anyone else's approval. Your transformation does not need consensus. Your evolution is not a democracy. The way forward. First, you must recognize your addiction to waiting, not judge it, not shame it, recognize it. See clearly that you have been using delay as a defense mechanism, that you have been convincing yourself patience is wisdom, when really it has been fear masquerading as prudence. This means getting honest about every way you have told yourself you are not ready yet, every way you have manufactured obstacles, every way you have made your transformation conditional on external circumstances changing first. Write them down. Look at them. See the pattern. Your unconscious has been running the same program on repeat. You must become conscious of the pattern before you can change it. Second, you must integrate your golden shadow. Reclaim the power, the confidence, the audacity you have been hiding. Own the parts of yourself you have been denying because they felt too big, too bright, too much. This means practicing being the person you would be if you stopped waiting. What would that person think? How would that person act? What would that person tolerate? What would that person refuse? You cannot wait until you feel ready. You must claim the identity before the evidence arrives. You must practice being whole before circumstances confirm your wholeness. This is how you train your nervous system to tolerate a new baseline. Third, you must grieve the waiting self. You must let it die. This is not metaphorical. You must actually mourn the identity of the one who needed more time, more preparation, more permission. That identity served you. It kept you safe. It made your fear acceptable. but it has outlived its usefulness. You must thank it for its service and then release it. This means sitting with the discomfort of not knowing who you are without your limitations. It means tolerating the emptiness that comes before new identity forms. It means being in the liminal space without rushing to fill it with another defense. Fourth, you must claim the actualized identity before you have evidence. This is the most difficult step because your brain wants proof before it changes. But transformation does not work that way. You must act from the new identity first. You must make decisions as if you already are the person who stopped waiting. You must speak as if you already occupy your full power. You must move through the world as if you already trust yourself completely. This will feel like pretending at first. Your brain will tell you that you are being inauthentic, but you are not pretending to be someone you are not. You are practicing being who you actually are beneath the conditioning. Fifth, you must protect your transformation from collective pressure. This means setting boundaries with people who have an investment in you staying stuck. This means saying no to situations that require you to perform the old identity. This means choosing yourself even when it disappoints others. You cannot negotiate with the collective unconscious. You cannot ask permission to evolve. You must simply evolve and then deal with the consequences. Most of the consequences you fear will never materialize, and the ones that do will be less painful than staying trapped. Sixth, you must learn to tolerate success without sabotaging it. This is the most subtle and most critical step. You must train your nervous system to handle the feeling of things actually working out. Every time you feel the urge to create a crisis, pause. Every time you feel the urge to pick a fight, pause. Every time you feel the urge to convince yourself it is not really working, pause. Breathe. Feel the discomfort of success without acting on the urge to destroy it. This is reconditioning work. You are teaching your brain that success is safe, that being seen is safe, that occupying your power is safe. Your nervous system will resist. It will generate anxiety. It will try to convince you something is wrong. Nothing is wrong. You are just unfamiliar with things going right. Seventh, understand that transformation is not a destination. It is a practice. You do not arrive at a place called actualized and then stop growing. You do not reach a point where you never feel the urge to wait again. You practice choosing yourself daily. You practice acting from your highest self hourly. You practice tolerating your own power minute by minute. This is the work. Not achieving some final state, but continuously choosing evolution over comfort. This is your turn. Not because the universe suddenly decided to be kind, but because you are finally ready to let yourself stop waiting. You are finally done with the identity of the one who is not quite there yet. You are finally exhausted by your own excuses. You are finally more terrified of staying stuck than you are of breaking free. The signs are already appearing. The pressure, the restlessness, the dissatisfaction, the sense that you cannot take it anymore, the feeling that this cannot wait any longer. These are not random. These are your psyche preparing for transformation. Your unconscious has already begun the process. It is generating the exact conditions needed for you to break through. The question is not whether you are ready. You are ready. The question is whether you will allow the transformation to happen or whether you will fight it one more time. I've always believed that people who successfully complete this process become individuated. They stop living according to scripts written by others. They stop performing identities designed to keep them acceptable. They start living from their authentic self. They stop waiting because they are psychologically aligned with action. They stop hesitating because they trust themselves completely. They stop seeking permission because they understand they are the only authority they need. You are standing at that gateway right now. On one side is the familiar prison of delay. On the other side is the terrifying freedom of becoming. Here is what you must do. 1. Acknowledge your unconscious sabotage patterns without judgment. Write them down, see them clearly, recognize every way you have been keeping yourself stuck. 2. Decide that waiting is no longer acceptable. Not next month, not next year, today, right now. Decide that you are done performing the role of the one who is not ready yet. 3. Identify one action you can take this very day that aligns with the person who has stopped waiting. Not a big action, not a dramatic gesture. One simple action that the actualized version of you would take without hesitation. 4. Expect resistance, not as evidence of failure, as evidence of transformation. Your brain will panic. Your nervous system will sound alarms. Your psyche will manufacture reasons to stop. This is normal. This is required. Do not let it stop you. 5. Find allies who can witness your evolution without trying to hinder it. Not people who will validate your excuses. Not people who will enable your delay. People who will hold you accountable to your highest self. 6. Commit to the daily practice of choosing from your actualized self every single day, every single decision. Ask yourself, what would the whole realized version of me do? Then do that, especially when it feels uncomfortable. 7. Understand that becoming will feel like pretending at first. You will feel like an imposter. You will feel like you are playing a role. This is how the gap gets bridged. You act as if until you become, because that is how you bridge the gap. You act as if until you become. You are standing at the gateway. The choice is yours. You can return to the familiar pattern of waiting and pretend you did not hear these truths. You can convince yourself you will do it tomorrow, next week, next year. You can go back to the comfortable prison of delay. Or you can step through the gateway and become who you actually are. You can stop waiting for permission you will never receive. You can stop preparing for a readiness that will never feel complete. You can stop defending limitations that were never yours to begin with. Consciousness wants to evolve. That is its nature. When you resist your own evolution, you resist the fundamental force of life itself. When you stop resisting, when you finally allow yourself to become, you align with something larger than your individual psychology. Your transformation is not just personal, it is collective. When you stop waiting and start living, when you stop hiding and start shining, when you stop pretending and start being, you change the frequency of possibility for everyone around you. You give others permission to stop waiting too. You prove that transformation is possible. You become living evidence that the conditioning can be broken. You are finally ready to stop telling yourself you are not ready. You are finally choosing your evolution over your excuses. You are finally done waiting for a future that only arrives when you create it. And that choice changes everything. Welcome to the beginning of who you were always meant to be.